The Greek myth about Asteria and Leto shows how the bond of sisterhood can prevail over other powerful influences. Her story begins before the supremacy of Zeus and the Olympians, when the Titans ruled over creation with Cronus as their king. Among Cronus' siblings were Coeus, the Titan of intelligence, and Phoebe, Titaness of shining or brilliance, and their two daughters, Asteria and Leto, whom the Romans called Latona. Well, Asteria married her cousin Perses, and the two had a daughter named Hecate, who became the goddess of witchcraft, among other things. However, after Zeus and his siblings defeat the Titans and take over creation, the male Titans that fought against them were imprisoned in Tartarus. The women, however, were allowed to remain in Olympus, and eventually Zeus's wandering eye would turn towards these daughters of Coeus and Phoebe. First, he pursued Asteria in his form as an eagle, but she wanted nothing to do with him, and to escape his advances, she turned herself into a quail, and then she plunged off Mount Olympus into the sea. But this catches the eye of Zeus's brother Poseidon. The sea was his province, and he had equally lustful feelings towards Asteria, and pursued her as well. To escape Poseidon, Asteria turned herself into a floating island, but an island that could roam freely about the seas to escape Poseidon. Well, with Asteria gone, Zeus turned his attention toward her sister Leto, who seems to have been a more willing partner, and she becomes pregnant by Zeus with twins. Of course, Zeus is married to Hera while this is all taking place, and when Hera finds out that Leto is pregnant, she forbids any solid land from allowing Leto to give birth on it. Leto travels around looking for a place to allow it, but none will disobey Hera, and that's when her sister comes to the rescue. Asteria, still in the form of a floating island, doesn't really care what Hera thinks, arguing that she's not solid land at all since she's floating around. So she invites her sister onto her, and this is where Leto is eventually able to give birth to and raise her twins, Artemis and Apollo, who become two of the most celebrated gods in the pantheon. An additional myth about Leto exists, where after she's given birth to Artemis and Apollo, she travels to Lycia, where some local peasants refuse to let her drink from a spring, and she turns them into frogs for this offense. Well, Apollo eventually grows up, and he fixes his aunt Asteria to the sea floor, and she's thereafter considered to be the island of Delos, where worship of the mother goddess Leto continued, and probably had existed long before the Greeks wove her into their narrative.